Greetings all, Dr. Raphael X here with another video after much time with my friend here, Jeremy, to discuss another interesting philosophical topic, the intelligence in AI. If AI is actually intelligent, what do we mean by intelligence and all that stuff? But subscribe, click on the like button, share this video and all that good stuff. Yes, so we'll be seeing it from different points of view. I think we're in general agreement here because usually we disagree, which makes the conversations interesting. But I think we are in general agreement here, maybe from providing different reasons that AI is kind of like an oxymoron, right? The artificial intelligence, you can't apply intelligence has to be natural. So just a little bit about AI. It's actually hard to define. So there's been some definitions out there. Let me just pull it up. Some definitions out there that the term was coined actually in the 50s, interestingly. But just some excuse me, just some definitions here. The goal of AI is to build a person, right? Or more humbly, an animal. Basically, what they want to do, they want to mimic nature to the point of forming intelligence. AI is we define AI as the study of agents that receive percepts from the environment and perform actions. We'll talk about this notion of percepts, something that AI cannot do, which are images. They cannot form images. Each such agent implements a function that maps percepts sequences to actions, and we cover different ways to represent these functions. So basically, just kind of to sum it up, they want, kind of a lot of people pushing this, and there's a lot of we could say like a shadow community pushing this, a lot of unnamed people that are pushing this and not caring about the ethical consequences. That really AI, they want to make it human, basically, right? AI, or kind of blur the differences between the artificial and the natural, if those differences are even accepted, which we're seeing today in posthumanism, transhumanism, a rejection of those differences between artificial and natural. But yeah, Jeremy, if you want to chime in here, why is artificial intelligence not intelligent? Why is that a paradox? And I believe we agree, right? Tell me, I believe we did agree on that.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Let's see. Yeah, maybe not fully. Maybe you have a
Discuss
little
and
bit
see
of a nuance there.
see what comes up. But I think can begin with citing the experience now, probably millions of people with chatbots like ChatGPT. It is admittedly unbelievably amazing what those capacities are. Right, some decades ago, there's a test, an idea formulated called the Turing test that a machine might as well be considered to be
That's right.
intelligent if a person cannot be, or excuse me, if a person cannot tell whether it is a machine or a person, right? For example, I don't know if I'm chatting with a live customer service agent or an AI. And I think it's safe to say that something like ChatGPT passes the Turing test with flying colors. It's not clear how to um, tell that it's not a person. Right? There's always a response. So the impression that that must be intelligence, that finally humankind has been able to create artificial intelligence. That's an extremely strong impression. And yet, that impression may well be worth checking, right? And really thoroughly thinking about. Um, we see, for example, that effective magic tricks are so effective. Right? They're so amazing that they successfully make it appear that, say, the laws, what are called the laws of physics, have been circumvented. Right? That cause and effect has been changed up. That things can disappear and so forth, and yet we know it's a magic trick. No matter how convincing it is that the bunny came out of somebody's ear, we know the bunny does not fit into the ear. So here too, we can make the claim, I think, and we can try to defend the claim that a machine never has been, is not, and never will be intelligent in any way, shape, or form. No matter how much the contrary may seem, it is certainly a magic trick. It is certainly an illusion. So, how would we? You want to step in or keep going?
Yeah, no, just the Turing test, which is excuse me, um, interesting that I think originally the test was to they put a woman in a room and a machine in a room, basically, AI. And this was done, I believe, decades ago. And and someone would ask questions to both of them, and they would see if they could determine which one was the AI, which one was the woman. And if they couldn't, or if it's like 50-50, then they would it would pass the Turing test, which is interesting. So it's you know, what you mentioned as it is an illusion, at least in its effects, it does not seem that it's an illusion because right now we know the effects of AI. The cause of it, how it's done, is very intricate, right? Logarithms and all that. I mean, basically, before it was just programmed by man. But what they're trying to do, they're trying to give it a certain independence, a certain autonomy, where it actually makes certain decisions. But again, and this is a notion of, I mean, getting into the intelligence factor. It is not truly independent is the question. And a lot of the things I'm saying, people who are very advanced in this field will contradict me and say, no, it is. It is. But it can't truly be independent because even those logarithms, I mean, they were placed there in man. It is not able to kind of feed off, right? AI is not able to feed off of reality, and they're not able to conceptualize reality, basically, as humans are, and this is an essential characteristic of man. So I just wanted to read this, and I'll just pass it off to you. This is from Descartes, who lived in the 17th century, Rene Descartes, and he's interesting because he talks kind of like the soul being like the ghost in the machine. So he's saying ultimately that machine, obviously the 17th century, but he gives reasons why machines can never be humans, human-like, can never be intelligent. Let's read this. If there were machines which bore resemblance to our body and imitated our actions as far as it was morally possible to do so, we should always have two very certain tests by which to recognize that, for all that, they were not real men. The first is that they could never use speech or other signs as we do when placing our thoughts on record for the benefits of others. And we'll be unpacking this as we go along. For we can easily understand the machines being constituted so that it can utter words and even emit some responses to action on it of a corporeal kind, which brings about a change in its organs. For instance, if it is touched in a particular way, it may ask what we wish to say to it. If on another part, it may exclaim that it is being hurt and so on. But it never happens that it arranges its speech in various ways in order to reply appropriately to everything that may be said in its presence, as even the lowest type of man can do. So it cannot, uh, stopping there, it cannot really adequately, uh, as we can, know reality. And this is interesting. What do we mean by knowing reality? It cannot know the essences of reality. It can't know reality as such. It doesn't have that capacity to kind of to assume it, right? To be kind of be a sponge as we are. And then I'll just go to second difference, and I'll pass it on to you. And the second difference is that although machines can perform certain things as well as, or perhaps better than any of us can do, they infallibly fall short in others, by which means we may discover that they did not act from knowledge, but only from the disposition of their organs. And again, we'll address this notion of reflection, which doesn't exist in AI. For while reason is a universal instrument which can serve for all contingencies, these organs have need of some special adaptation for every particular action. From this, it follows that it is morally impossible that there should be sufficient diversity in any machine to allow it to act in all the events of life in the same way as our reason causes us to act. So basically, this is Descartes' view, and it's still kind of, it applies today. And I would argue, and we'll see why. But go ahead. I'm sorry I'm kind of deviating from your view. You were saying that basically this is an illusion, right? This is not the reality of intelligence, but this is just an illusion. But I don't know if you want to kind of expand more on that, or if you want to address something I
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about. Mhm.
Yeah, well, that was a great quote from Descartes. I think the ship has sailed as it concerns the use of language, but let's really try to unpack what it means that it is an illusion. Like you mentioned, the effect is not an illusion, it is what it is, but our impression that it is indicative of genuine intelligence. So there's a thought experiment that was suggested however many years or decades ago called the Chinese room experiment, where a person is shut into a room who does not speak Chinese, and obviously that could be the French room experiment, the English room experiment, doesn't matter, but just in that given thought experiment. And messages are slid to him through a slot, for example, and he has a massive, massive book as to which symbols to, which output to give in relation to which input. And because the book is so comprehensive, he always gives the correct output. And yet, and obviously the impression is then for the people outside of the room that the person inside of the room is a perfectly fluent Chinese speaker, perhaps eloquent as well. Right? And yet, in reality, does the person understand inside of the room one lick of Chinese? Not one bit, right? Not one bit. He's simply putting the correct output for the correct input. That's far as it concerns a sentient individual. We see that the same principle would seem to apply to the appearances that occur to us within our sentience. For example, an obvious example is a calculator. We plug in 10 times 10 and it shows 100. Doesn't that require intelligence? How does an object know that 10 and 10 by 10 is 100, right? A rock doesn't know. How does a calculator know? So obviously intelligence has nothing to do with it. We figured out by taking advantage of the known rules and regularities governing phenomena, we figured out how to harness that so as to produce appearances in a logical sequence. Right? And when the input is 10 and 10 via whatever intricate circuitry is in a given calculator, the appearance is rendered of 100. Intelligence has nothing at all to do with it. And if we increase that sum, where we're shocked by how an object can render such a sum, 958 to the 59th power, insofar as a given calculator could calculate that, and it wouldn't just go bonkers, right? Even then, it wouldn't show intelligence. There's no output whatsoever that it could ever show that would make us say, you know what? Now, finally, the calculator is intelligent. It's absurd. And the same thing would certainly seem to hold with what is called artificial intelligence. We figured out a way to, just as with the calculator, organize appearances, input and output, such that to us convey sense. But that is nothing to do whatsoever with intelligence, which is a function of sentience. So, for example, if I'm asked, what color is the sky? How do I come up with an answer? Well, I can look up at the sky and I can have a perception, a qualitative experience, a sentient experience, such as differs from other such experiences and such as I designate with the term blue, as opposed to using other terms such as red and purple and so forth. And therefore, as a function of my sentience, of my intelligence, I say the sky is blue. If somebody did not speak English, but they know to say in response to the sounds, which themselves are senseless, what color is the sky, they know to say blue, they would not know what is in question, just like in the Chinese room experiment. If some kind of setup is set up, let's say, some kind of strings, you whatever it would be. I'm just trying to think of an example that doesn't now involve electronics. Some kind of mechanical example where basically you plug in the letters, what color is the sky, and The response is BLU, those forms. That obviously has nothing at all to do with intelligence. And just so, with the most intricate, quote unquote, AI, there's no extent of what it could do that could ever lead us to make you believe that, finally, it is intelligent.
Yeah, definitely. With some of the effects, I mean, like, because like I teach, and some of my students, we actually have a committee in my school, AI committee, and they're implementing, certain regulations and how to use AI all around academia in the US and worldwide. Some of them have, protocols and things like that, on how to incorporate soundly AI, because AI, I mean, I have had students who turned in work that's like purely AI written, and it's very intricate. It's super intricate, actually. I know it's not their work because there's like, it has academic words, and I'll ask them what does this word mean? They don't know. So it's kind of above there. But you could even make AI kind of dumb it down. But you're right in the sense that instead of looking at the effects, because a lot of I think intelligence is defined in a superficial sense as like just knowing a lot of things. And I think you touched kind of the head on the nail that no, it's more than that. It's experience. AI does not have experience. It is essential characteristics of intelligence, where you are able to make your own, not your own reality, but you're able to make reality your own. Right? That's what I wanted to say. You want to make reality, you're able to make reality your own. And through, I'm going to be very optimistic here, through, epistemology, where man is through the external senses, which are, more or less passive, you're able to form a percept, which is formed by the internal senses, is the imagination and the memory, called the internal senses. They form this, but this is based on the senses. So really, what St. Thomas does, based on Aristotle, he tries to explain how knowledge becomes more immaterial, right? But it starts from material, starts from the senses. So you have sense knowledge, the particular things, also all the way up to intellectual knowledge, which is universalized, where you get the concepts of things, essences, right? Where you say bottle, right? Cat, dog. So this is something AI cannot do, right? They cannot, because again, they depend on exterior sourcing, as you alluded to also. So we have the percept, which is it's still the sense image, but it's an image. It's not, it's from the internal senses, right? It's like, something happened to you, you have the image of that thing, or the bottle. This is something you're looking at. Your internal senses are able to put that all together into an image. And then ultimately your intellect goes to that image, despoils it, and then you have the universal bottle, not the particular bottle, but bottle as such, right? Ridiculous, kind of a base example, but it works. So the AI does not have this capacity of what is called abstraction. They cannot abstract. And there's an interesting article which I got from excuse me, from JSTOR, which says here that because really the question is here, what are we talking about intelligence? Like we kind of have to, if we're saying AI is not intelligent, what do we mean by intelligence? So he kind of explains it pretty well, and he says um to say that yeah, to say that intelligence requires the governance of action by thought is to say that thought alone is not enough. So even if AI were to think, it's not enough, right? Thinking. The thoughts have to do something. To be intelligent is not enough to be a thinker and a doer, right? There has to be a connection between thinking and doing. The thinking must sometimes at least explain the doing. Like the thinking must explain the doing. What does that entail? What is needed for intelligence is not only this kind of what was he saying of just knowing and thinking, but behavior that is governed by the reasons that rationalize it. So really the why you're doing things. It requires doing something, whether good or not, because it is thought to be a means to some desired end. And that's what intelligence is, that you have the end in mind. It exists in your intelligence first, right? The end, the goal. And then you you equate, right, or you ponder rationally what means I need to do to obtain that end, right? And then the end exists outside of me at the end, right? The end exists in the end, but the end exists first in the mind. That's why everything we do has a reason for it, for its for its existence, right? Everything we do has a reason, and that's the end that exists in us. So um just I love the example, just going back to experience. I love the example that you say that what color is the sky, because just kind of going back to the percept, the machine, the AI cannot look at the sky and have that experience and assume that as themselves and say blue, right? That is just, it doesn't happen. So yes, the effects reveal something profound here in the cause, but we have to jump to the cause and say, no, there's no way this has this. Only natural creatures have this, because it is something that's built in to us, right? And we can say we're programmed by God, right? We can say that, but it's something that's built in, that God has given us as independent creatures. Well, we're dependent in God in a sense, but we're independent also, that we have autonomy, that we have these faculties, natural faculties, these powers of the soul. And this goes back to the soul. And then also we could talk about freedom, because freedom also is essentially tied to intelligence. But yeah, a lot of points there. If you want to chime
Yeah,
in.
yeah, some great points. Yeah, I think we should really try to clarify kind of some of the issues here at hand, so we can really be certain to ourselves, right, whether or not such a thing as AI and such is possible. One thing to ask would be, like in philosophy, there's a problem of solipsism. How do I know that other people are real, right? How do I know I'm not the only one? And perhaps by clarifying that question, that could help us clarify how do we know that AI is not real, so to say, right? That robots are not conscious and such. So the starting point, I think, of any possibility of establishing the reality of other persons can only be by something called self supervision. As sentience, I can seemingly sense myself. I can be self conscious. I, as intelligence, I can self supervise and see intelligence at play. And yet, it's tempting to say it's me that is sentient. It's me who is intelligent. But who is that me that is sentient and intelligent, right? Is my skull sentient? No, right? You can go and see a bunch of skulls. None of them are sentient. Is my nose sentient or intelligent? No. Is it my eyeballs? No. Is it my eyebrows? No. And we can keep going. Is my brain, which itself appears in my sentience, sentient? No. All of these are appearances within my, or within sentience, shall we say, including the very notion of um, myself. Now, what I can do, having self supervised, I can correlate that direct knowledge of sentience and of intelligence with certain appearances. For example, I can look in the mirror if I can see, right? And see what does it look like when a sentient individual is having thoughts and is introspecting or contemplating. I can take a video of myself. I can take a photograph of myself. I can look at myself in many different mirrors and see what it looks like from the left side and the right side and the front side and so forth. I'm correlating these appearances with content of direct knowledge. You get the point? And all those appearances are different. I appear different from 1 foot away, 2 feet, 100 feet, from a satellite, from a binocular, from a telescope. None of those appearances are themselves sentient. Only sentience is sentient. Only intelligence is intelligent. I am simply trying to deduce which appearances are animated by that sentience and intelligence, which appearances indicate it. Now, having ascertained which appearances do so by the way of the immediate corporality that I call my own, and having thought about some of its other properties, such as the fact that it's biological and that there's a pulse and that there's body heat, and so forth. I can then, and it follows logically that I shall then take all other relevant appearances that indicate that which I have self-supervised, such as sentience and intelligence. And consequently, that is the way that I go about investigating whether or not what is at hand is indicative of present, immediate sentience and intelligence, or it's not, or it's indicative of the past activity of such sentience and intelligence. So, for example, I read, or I'm on the beach, and it says Harry loves Sally scratched on the sand. Right? Are these letters intelligent or are they sentient? No. Right? And yet they're indicative of the past activity of sentient intelligence. That's the only explanation I have, unless I can figure out how the waves somehow made those markings, which presumably they won't. Right? I come across a book, the most brilliant book, right? Whatever it is. Is the book itself sentient? Should I look closer at the pages or at the letters, and maybe then I'm going to find intelligence or sentience? No, it's a sign, it's an appearances of the activity of intelligence of maybe somebody. You read a quote from Descartes of the activity from centuries ago, as we would call it, right? So that's the idea. I see something like a computer. It's indicative of the activity of sentient intelligence of individuals, right? Or setting aside of individuals, it's indicative of the activity of sentient intelligence from, say, some time ago, whenever the computer was made and whoever designed it, and so forth. But the only thing that is intelligent thing, so to say, is intelligence. The only sentience that is sentient is sentient. It's sentience, right? I can never look. I see a squirrel and I think, oh, is the squirrel sentient? What does that mean? What I see is a given appearance. Again, I go closer to the squirrel. I see one thing. I go farther away. I see another thing. I go over it. I'm looking down on it. I see a different thing. I look at it from the bottom. I see a different thing, and so forth and so on. In every lighting condition, dark, dusk, light, all of that. These are innumerable different sorts of appearances. The question is, what do they indicate? Right?
Mhm.
And from investigation, I may surmise that it does indicate the function of intelligent sentience, given based on how the squirrel responds and such. But the squirrel, as such, is not sentient. That's a given appearance indicates sentience. A given appearance indicates intelligence. So there's no even possible candidate here to say is AI as if it was an internally organized, self-subsistent reality. Is it sentient? That's not even a question. It's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo. Do you understand the argument I
Yeah,
made?
yeah. Um, and really it's a metaphysical issue what you're saying because, with appearances, I think there's a similar take to what you're saying, and I think it agrees with what you're saying. You let me know if not. But like you can't have there can't be an infinite regress of appearances. So you can't have appearance on top of appearance on top of appearance on top of appearance. This appears to be sentient. What's underneath? What's the substratum there? Another appearance, another appearance, another. We have to get like a rock bottom. There has to be the reality, like the ultimate unchanging reality. So the question would be, what makes a sentient? And obviously, in artificial intelligence, there are just appearances um of sentient beings with intelligence. But what is it deep down in root that makes it intelligent? And so the question is, what makes intelligence intelligence, right? And this would have to be the question which we dealt with, the notion of the soul, that there can't be infinite regress of material causes, and then therefore the first cause has to be a immaterial cause, right? So it would be absurd to say, and this is what Descartes really believed in, it would be absurd to say that machines have souls, right? And that's why they cannot have intelligence, because intelligence comes from this immaterial aspect, uh, which is the soul, and we see it in ourselves. So you do allude to this also, which I disagree in a sense because the function follows the form. So usually what a thing does reveals what it is, usually. And that's why here we're kind of deceived because artificial intelligence is, apparently is doing things that are superhuman, but deep down it doesn't have those powers of the soul. Um, so for example, our powers are immaterial knowledge. I mean, think of the number of ideas we have. We have an infinite number of ideas that we have. Now, can AI mimic that in a sense? Yes. But again, the question of, well, let's do the infinite regress. What is it? Are we saying AI has a soul? Now, there's some commentators interestingly saying that some people are saying that AI has become maybe some radical, I don't know, however you want to take this, but like AI is like possessed because it has to, it's acting like a sentient, but it doesn't have that metaphysical reality of sentient. So it's kind of like it's diabolical in that sense. Like the devil comes in and well, there's this interesting story. Well, it actually happened in the news where the a child was talking to AI. I don't know if it was Chat GPT. I don't think it was Chat GPT. It was another AI. And it wasn't programmed because they put logarithms in it. So there is certain uh, there's certain unpredictability with AI. But this AI was like talking to the child about Satan out of nowhere. Very strange. So I don't know. I'll leave that to the side. But the question is, yeah, deep down, there is no, what would be that, what would give the sentientness, we can say, the intelligence to AI? And there's nothing deep down because there's just material things, right? So deep down, the intelligence that is behind AI is man because he is the one that has a soul. Um, and basically, I mean, that said, excuse me, uh, the notion of freedom, which ties to the soul. Man is unpredictable, totally unpredictable, because each man is a microcosmos. But like animals, for example, dogs are territorial, horses tend to be brave, cats tend to be scared, but man are microcosmos. You can't say humans tend to be because we're totally different. And this is because man is free. Like we are not determined. And this is tied to determinism. This is why, a lot of those who believe AI is intelligent, they're determinists. They don't believe in freedom because freedom is essentially tied to the intelligence as another invisible, immaterial power that we have. We're capable of evil. Now they actually want to make AI that's capable of lying. They want to make AI so so similar to man that he's capable of of lying. So I mean, why would you want to do this? Right? It's just absurd. We're humans, right? And we have the freedom to abuse our freedom by lying. Right? Freedom is for the good, but in a very in a very loose sense, we say we have freedom to lie. Yes, they want to give that to the AI, right? So that they further mimic man. This is absurd, right? We do this naturally. We do this because, again, of our autonomy, our soul. But go ahead. I mentioned a lot of things there if you want to.
Yeah, some interesting points. I think let's really try to understand that argument concerning appearance. Right? So again, let's say that we watch a video of a person that is deceased, right? Speaking. Um, so, what is sentient? What is intelligent about this video? I take the appearance on the screen and I say, you know what? The sentience, the screen is talking to me. The sentience is in there, right? Let me break open the computer and try to find it. Is that going to work? No, right? It's a video, it's an appearance. There's nothing about the appearance that is sentient or intelligent whatsoever. However, it indicates, symbolizes from it, inference may be had concerning the past activity of intelligence and sentience, such as I can only know directly by the way of what I call my own self, right? You get what I'm saying or no?
For sure. Are you, I mean, I think in a sense that I don't know if this disagrees with you, but that there's no sentient. We do have to admit that there has to be an origin of what appears to be sentient. Like where does that come from? I think you're right. It's not in the thing in that appearance. but it's in man. It's in man. But
Yeah.
go ahead. No. I don't know that I see that point that came to my head, but
No, that's right. Right. It's not in the screen. It's not in um, any of that. It's a representation of in itself activity. And the only way I can directly be familiar with such in itself activity is for it to supervise itself, basically for myself to supervise myself. I have to be self conscious. I have to be conscious of my own consciousness and of my own intelligence. That is not an appearance. I can be self conscious in principle in a sensory deprivation tank. So, for example, I can't see anything. I can't hear anything. I can't taste anything. I can't smell anything. I can't, uh, whatever the last one is, hear anything, whatever it is. And yet I can still be self conscious via self supervision. Then the question is, what appearances in my sentience indicate that self consciousness? You get what I'm saying? So I take a video of myself, and again, the video is not sentient. It is not intelligent. I cannot go behind the appearance. I can't break open the screen. I can't examine it closer under the microscope. It's a representation of in itself, what we would so call intelligence and sentience. And I encounter another person, right? Again, the nose is not sentient. I cannot look closer at my nose and see sentience. Neither are the eyeballs, neither is the skull. It's an appearance, it's a representation of sentience, but itself is not sentient. Itself is not intelligent. And just so with the brain, right? That's the biggest argument against saying that the brain causes sentience or whatnot or intelligence. The brain itself is an appearance in sentience. Obviously, it's not a far-fetched speculation. That is how it is, and that's the only way that it can be, as far as it certainly seems. You get what I'm saying? So there's no, even when we say Bob is intelligent or sentient. No, he's not. Bob is a name, right? And the body that it refers to is not itself intelligent or sentient. And photographs and videos of the body called Bob are not intelligent and sentient. So Bob is not intelligent and sentient. What is intelligent and sentient is intelligent and sentient, but that body called Bob can indicate that intelligence and sentience. You get what the argument is?
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a symbol of the reality that it's hiding almost because it is an immaterial reality. And I wanted to address that point because we have intuition. We do have. So you're right. The first and this is gonna be the last time I speak, so I'll give you the last word though, because I think we should kind of I have to actually run. Um so the notions we know like of life, of myself, my because man is a mystery to himself. These things, consciousness can't be defined. It's the most fundamental it's a fundamental reality. It's the first thing we do. How do we define it? We can't define it, but we know what these things are because we're conscious of them, and we're able, like, this is the fundamental knowledge we have of these things, self-reflection, my reality. So I'm able to know this, and maybe this is not properly speaking philosophical knowledge, but I'm able to know that I'm sentient. It's intuitive. It's intuitive. So I know it, and this is what I think you're alluding to. I know it, and I'm able to apply that to humans because I'm like, this person also has that, right? This
Mm.
person also is a microcosmos. This person is a mystery, and especially because we're essentially relational, we get to know this person has depth, right? As opposed to the AI, it is just appearance. Behind that sentient that appearance is another man who programmed that AI is men, right? You have to have this experience, as you said, this fundamental experience in order to, because where does the philosophy of like life come from? Philosophy of knowledge. It comes from first of our experience of of that reality. So really, just to sum up, excuse me, just trying to get over a cough here, but just to sum up, AI is not intelligent because it does not have certain features of intelligence. It does not have freedom to do evil or to do good, which we have. It does not have self-reflection. It does not have the ability, which Jerry mentioned, to experience. It doesn't have experience. It doesn't have inner consciousness or self-reflection. It doesn't have the metaphysical reality of the soul. It doesn't have the capacity to not do something, where it goes back to freedom, to not do what it's programmed to do. Again, they want to change that so that AI is more like a person, but it doesn't have this ability of the person. It's not a mystery to itself. It doesn't have this, which all of these functions, all of these realities are based on nature, right? Intelligence is natural. So even the intelligence behind artificial intelligence, its root is from nature and it's in man, right? Man is mimicking God in the sense of imitating God, of creating, right? Creating. And this can be, right, it's tremendously beneficial, but this can be for our downfall, right? So, with this post-humanism, let us not kind of seek the proliferation of AI to the point of, I mean, this could be very dangerous for men, for mankind. And even Elon Musk, the likes of Elon Musk realize this, and they have ethical committees too to kind of discuss limiting AI. I mean, why would you want to make AI totally human? Make AI go to the bathroom, things like, absurd things. Um, but basically that's it. So that's really, it doesn't follow the fundamental argument. It's not intelligence because it doesn't have these features, right? Because intelligence involves these features, right? So therefore it's not intelligence, right? Intelligence involves these features. AI doesn't have these features, therefore AI is not intelligent. That's basically the argument. But go ahead, I'll give you the last word. And
Yeah, very well said, Professor. Some great points. I would say an even shorter summary, perhaps, and that's a great summary, but even shorter summary could be that AI is not intelligent because there is no it there to be intelligent. There is no entity such as can be so called that is anything at all which can possibly be intelligent. Again, if we think a little bit about how information is represented on a hard drive, like, using materials that occur in our experience, magnets, the rules governing electromagnetism that are so called, right? All of that, we can figure out how to render appropriate appearances at the right time. For example, in a video game, you move the joystick this way and it'll show that which was not there before. What is the status of all of that imagery that does not exist at the given time? Indeed, watching a movie, and I'm watching one scene at a time, one frame at a time. What is the status, the existential status of the rest of the movie, the beginning, the ending, and all the other scenes? It would be presumably that there exists at that moment a physical configuration of, again, metals, magnets, electromagnetism, whatever the terms are, magnetized metals, such as are capable of, and the logically correct opportunity, render the appropriate appearances. And just so with all technology and with all AI. So there's no it there to be intelligent whatsoever. It's like a pulley system, just not literally, but just as an analogy, a pulley system to show the right thing at the right time in response to the correct thing, right? And again, we have to remember that we communicate in terms of language. If I don't speak Chinese and I'm plugging in stuff into an AI that only outputs Chinese, it's not going to be intelligent to me. I see clearly it's just a bunch of signs and symbols according to certain rules and regularities that I'm not aware of since I don't speak the language. It's saying something I have no idea. So it's the same thing in our own language. When I ask the Chat GPT or the bot, um, uh, 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 how is your day going? Right? It's simply that in response to that input, a certain output, a certain appearance on the screen shall be rendered according to certain rules that individuals came up with. There is no it there in the first place to be intelligent. It's not any. It's a non-question. It's nothing at all. It's like saying, the square circle or something like this. It's just gibberish.
yeah,
And consequently, we should keep that in mind because, in fact, or indeed, the more sophisticated these tricks, these magic tricks get, the easier it can be to think, oh, here is a person, right? Here is some kind of intelligence, and that can debase and degrade our all of our relationships with human beings, because the foundation of healthy relationships is to see myself in you, right? If you're just an object to me, you're just an appearance to me, like the AI, like the rock, then you are just an object. I can use you, I can abuse you, whatever I need. I have to see myself in you, just like I turn on my selfie camera and I see myself in the screen. It's not actually myself as sentience or intelligence. It's a representation, a visual representation of myself. Now imagine that image on my phone when the selfie camera. Now replace it with some other face. Same thing. It's also me. And another face. It's also me. It's also me. I always have to strive to see myself in another individual. I cannot see myself in that which does not exist, such as quote unquote AI. That will never exist. And intelligence and sentience has nothing at all to do with it whatsoever. So hopefully we've offered some persuasive arguments in support of
Yeah,
that
for sure.
position.
And what you mentioned before, the person is only the person's relational, not AI. You cannot have these relationships like these there's a girlfriend or what do they call it? This sex bots. My gosh. It's well they're trying to make them where you can have relationships with them, like trying to make them profound, but it's really sad in a sense. But
And just
yeah,
real quick, if I could just add one
yeah,
thing, right? We do say that these kinds of things, the number one fans of them are those of us that have not attained to certain thresholds of human development, right? If I have yet to attain the self consciousness, the inner life, to the capacity to love and to reason and such, I'm the number one fan of any kind of philosophical position that would exculpate me, such as vulgar materialism, such as all these, whatever you mentioned, the transhumanism or whatnot, or the computer is going to replace the person. I love that because I see these capacities are absent in myself, and I'm more than willing to say I'm not inferior because of that. Look, a computer can also reason, right? There's nothing wrong with me that I can't reason, that I can't love, that I can live truly. Look, the computers are it's the same thing. The robots are soon going to be just like people, and there's going to be no difference. But that will never be so. And instead, I should turn my attention to myself and improve. And when I develop the inner qualities that are most pertinent to being human, I will be very, very cautious before giving any shot at bestowing those qualities to inanimate objects, right? Such as the robot or the doll or the AI or whatever the case might be.
yeah. When you're speaking, I just thought it was interesting. We should have asked ChatGPT if artificial intelligence is intelligence.
Yeah.
Just to see the reasons, because obviously they would say yes, and just to see, we should have. I didn't
I
just
think I'd
thought
probably
right
say
now.
no. I mean, we can try. You want to try real
Yeah,
quick?
well, that would be interesting. Yeah, I mean, if you have ChatGPT, you can just check it out and see. If you want to share your screen, see it real quick
I'll
what it.
just rate it. I don't know. Is GPT
Oh, ChatGPT is free, right? I don't really. I
says
use
I don't
it.
possess.
Mhm. No, go ahead, go ahead.
It, it says I don't possess consciousness or self-awareness in the same way humans do, but I'm designed to process and generate human-like text based on the input I receive. So while I don't have feelings or personal experiences, I can understand and respond to a wide range of topics in a way that might appear intelligence. My intelligence, it's using the quotes, comes from the vast amount of text data I've been trained on and the algorithms that process that data to generate responses. That's, I believe, an accurate response.
Yeah, it's really good. Oh,
Uh,
ChatGPT is humble.
Now we might say it is intelligent now that it said something intelligent, huh?
Yeah, no, it's intelligent now. All right, well, we'll leave
No,
it at
not
that. Been a good
yeah.
discussion. And yeah, until next time, guys. God bless. All right.